felt that you are more than society expects of you? I know I do. Remember school? How many of you felt that learning was more about getting good grades rather than about passion and joy? How many of you, just raise your hands, felt that it was just about getting grades, not that much about passion and joy? How many times did you sit in the classroom, bored to death and desperate to just get away? When I was a kid, I used to play teaching. I would put my dolls around me and start talking to them. I do not remember what I taught and how I taught, but I do remember I was so happy. And this feeling of happiness was just overwhelming. Probably, this feeling influenced my professional choice. Psychologists say that people need meanings the way they need clothes and food. And people need meanings to live longer and happier. Where do we find meanings? When kids, we want to probe different things. We just want to look at things from different perspectives, make connections, and just try to do different things. Learning by doing. We are trying to do it when we are kids. You'd better allow your kid playing and trying things out rather than him sitting still and listening or being silent, although sometimes it's a little bit more convenient to us. Charles Darwin, for example, loved playing with insects. And I bet his room was messy and stinky at times. Luckily, his parents did not say no to his playing. Playing, doing things, probing different things is so critical, just for us to understand what we want to do in lives. Otherwise, how would we know what we are capable of? When we are born, our human brain stores endless potential, which is a result of not 9 months, but millions of years of human development. Our brain is an amazing hardware which can be activated only by engaging in doing things, not in listening, sitting in the classroom and listening to the lectures, especially if there is no questions in the end. Now, here's a striking thing. 70% of what we learn by experience, by doing, and only 10% we learn from this formal education when we more listen than do. What is even more striking is that every human capacity, which is potential, and it has its own appropriate time in the psychological development to just appear and kind of touch the environment to see if there is an opportunity for it to grow and develop. If the environment says yes, it grows. If the environment is not friendly and supportive and it says no, you mustn't, you should not, you couldn't, it just gets away back and disappears. And it may never appear back. If a child doesn't hear a human speech until he or she is 9 years old, he may not be able to speak at all. Now, how often do we learn by doing? By doing practical things when at school or at university. How often do we allow our kids and learners to probe and do things their own way, differently than we do? How often are we engaged in a dialogue? And when I say dialogue, I mean a true dialogue, not a formal exchange of statements, questions or answers. Or do we still prefer to transmit the knowledge to our learners' heads like the formal education used to do? When being in a dialogue, much more difficult. You have to be open and vulnerable, sincere. You create your meaningful space and you're ready to change, to hesitate, to doubt, which is much more difficult than just delivering lectures saying, I'm right, I know things, and I know how things should do, and just preaching, thinking that they understand us. It is time to stop pretending they understand us. We can only hope for that. Let me invite you to a new school. Imagine you study entrepreneurship and you create your own company. You do your marketing research, deal with clients and customers. You make mistakes, you take risks, you earn your own money. You do not have to visit the regular lectures, to sit down and shut up. You are in a dialogue during the training session with a coach from a corporate world who is very experienced in business, and he facilitates your team learning, and he's sharing and learning together. You co-create this meaningful space and new knowledge together. This is all about passion and joy. This is all about meanings. You read books which you choose to apply theory into practice. You do not have to take exams. The only means of assessment is when you assess yourself, as well as your team, coach, company, and your peers evaluate your progress as well. And in the end, by the time of graduation, you earn enough money to go around the world, to learn more about global marketing. Sounds like a dream, doesn't it? Finns do it. They revolutionized entrepreneurial education in Finland back in 1993, when the country was in a huge crisis, and it was very hard for the younger generation to get jobs. The TEMI academies they created provided the entrepreneurs the opportunity to do their own business during the 4 years of studies. And by the end they graduate, they didn't have any problems with employment. They either have their own companies or they become self-employed. My colleagues and I just returned from the team master, Finnish team coaches do. It is very promising that TEMI academies are spreading all around the world. There are almost 19 TEMI academies in the world now, and we are part of these very fast-growing learning networks. We spoke with lots of teampreneurs and team coaches, and they are all so enthusiastic about what they do. You cannot be mistaken. It is meaningful and very authentic learning, and teaching, and sharing. The pedagogy they imply is playing, probing things out, making mistakes, taking risks, having a dialogue, and having much fun. Similar new educational technologies just start emerge in Russia as well. We should not give up the struggle for our learners and kids to do things their own way. We are born to learn, and to learn by doing, which brings meanings to our lives. This is not a problem. This is an opportunity. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.